Good day. Today we will explore the things related to death, a word that often stirs fear and silence. It is a moment that comes for every human, yet no one truly knows what happens after it. Today we explore death from science, spirituality, and philosophy. What is death? Where does consciousness go? And is death really an end or the beginning of something else? Death is the stopping of life. When the heart stops beating and the brain stops working, the body slowly shuts down. All living things experience death: plants, animals, and humans. Death is natural, but it is also a mystery. What really happens in those final moments? According to modern science, death happens when the cells of the body stop doing their basic work, especially when the brain completely shuts down and cannot restart, or the heart stops for so long that oxygen no longer reaches the brain. After this, other body systems gradually begin to fail one by one. Interestingly, death is not a single moment but a process, a gradual decline. For example, 5 minutes after the heart stops, brain consciousness ends. But some cells, especially skin, liver, and muscles, can live for hours longer. This is why organs from a recently deceased person can sometimes be transplanted into others. In medical science, two key terms are used. First is clinical death. When the heart and breathing stop, but some brain activity might still remain. And then the brain death, when the entire brain, including centers for consciousness, breathing, and movement, permanently stop. Most countries consider brain death as the real definition of death, but the question remains: can the brain be revived after death? Religion views death not only just as the body system shutting down, but as the soul separating from the body. This is where science remains silent, because the soul cannot be measured or observed. Still, both science and religion agree death is humanity's greatest reality and its biggest mystery. Now, let's explore questions that have puzzled humans for centuries. What happens in the brain at the moment of death? Does a person retain any consciousness for a brief moment after dying? And can science reverse death? What happens in the brain at the moment of death? Does everything shut down immediately, or does the brain stay alive for a few moments? When the heart stops, blood flow also stops, and oxygen no longer reaches the brain. Brain cells, especially neurons, can survive without oxygen for only 3 to 5 minutes. During this time, what happens? First, neural stop. Research shows that immediately after death, the brain experiences a final burst of electrical activity, like a storm of electricity. These electrical waves are sometimes in the form of gamma waves, linked to consciousness, dreaming, and memory in living people. Second is the brain movie. Many people who have had near-death experiences report seeing their entire life flash before their eyes. In a famous 2022 study, a patient's EEG was recorded during death. Immediately after death, memory-like waves were detected in the brain. So, is the brain alive at the moment of death? For a few seconds, yes. But as oxygen completely stops, neurons release toxic calcium, which causes self-destruction of brain cells. That's why after 5 to 10 minutes, the brain suffers irreversible damage. And what does religion say? Sometimes feels the soul leaving the body. Maybe at the moment of death, the brain not only runs but also perceives things impossible in normal life. This is moment science is still trying to understand. While religion has already told us death is a doorway leading to an endless reality. Can we bring someone back from death by giving them ATP? ATP is the energy currency of every living cell. As soon as death occurs, oxygen stops, blood flow stops, ATP production stops, and existing ATP runs out in just minutes. So can we inject ATP from the outside and restart the cells? Sounds simple, but science says it's not. First, ATP cannot enter cells. ATP is large, charged molecule. It cannot pass through the cell membrane on its own. Second, injected ATP can be harmful. The body quickly breaks it down using enzymes like acto-ATPase. It becomes ADP, AMP and adenosine. These byproducts can constrict blood vessels and activate the immune system, which can cause pain, swelling or affect heart rhythm. So what are scientists doing instead? They are trying to restart ATP production inside cells. First, precursors like adenosine, creatinine and pyruvate are given. These can enter the cell and help produce ATP internally. Then nanoparticles or liposomes are also introduced, special delivery systems which are being tested in labs and animals, designed to carry ATP into cells safely. Third, continuous renal replacement therapies. A clinical trial in Germany 2017 to 2019 tried to reduce toxic glutamate from blood after death, but it failed because brain glutamate is regulated separately. So what is the conclusion? Right now, there is no safe or effective way to restore ATP after death. But this research shows we might one day extend the life of cells after death by a few minutes. And those minutes could become the key to restoring life in the future. Up next, can consciousness continue after death, and can we ever bring it back? What if we could bring a dead brain back to life? Sounds like a science fiction, but in 2019, scientists at Yale University shocked the world. Researchers removed a pig's brain 4 hours after its death. They used a system called BrainEx. A special liquid was pumped into the brain like artificial blood. It carried oxygen, glucose, and specific chemicals. What happened? Blood-like circulation restarted in the brain, and some neurons became active again. And ATP production resumed. Swelling reduced and cell death was halted. So the brain was not dead, it was inactive and partially reactivated. But scientists saw no signs of consciousness, no organized brain waves, no thoughts, no memory, no awareness. EEG showed no active mental activity. And more surprising, they used chemical blockers to suppress any chance of consciousness. Why? Because if awareness returned in a dead brain, would enter an ethically and legally uncharted territory. Ethical questions arise. Could a partially alive brain feel pain? Is it possible to create consciousness without a body? Would keeping such a brain alive be progress or cruelty? These are questions science still cannot fully answer. Parts of the brain can be partially reactivated hours after death, but consciousness, memory, or full life remains beyond reach. This research shows the line between life and death may be blurrer than we think. Coming up next. Can consciousness briefly survive after death? And can a person feel their own death happening? In a living body, each cell performs its own function. But what happens that turns billions of neurons into something more, a conscious mind? This question has challenged science, philosophy, and religion alike. So, where does consciousness begin? Each neuron sends tiny electrical signals. When millions of them fire together, brain waves form, but sending signals is not enough. The brain creates feedback loops, and signals go forward, then bounce back. These repeating loops form the basis of consciousness. Two main theories try to explain how consciousness works. First, global workspace theory. Different brain regions process information separately. When that info is gathered on the central global screen, it becomes part of our conscious experience. For example, a fly lands on your hand. Your nerves feel it, but you only become aware when your brain gives it attention. Think of it as your brain's own TV channel, a broadcast system awareness. Integrated information theory. This theory says consciousness arises when information and integration pass a certain threshold. It's measured using a value called phi. The higher the phi, the more consciousness exists. Surprisingly, computers, insects, even animals have some phi, but at lower stages. Do animals have consciousness? Yes, modern research shows that many animals recognize themselves in mirrors, plan for the future, experience emotions and make decisions. Monkeys, elephants, crows, dolphins all show signs of self-awareness. So consciousness is not just human, it's part of evolution. What about lab-grown mini brains? Scientists have built tiny brain models from stem cells called brain organoids. These generate electric signals, show wave patterns similar to newborn brains, but they still don't have consciousness. Why? They lack sensory input and they have no body environment of feedback loops. They are tools of the brain, not actual minds. Consciousness is created when millions of neurons fire signals, create feedback loops, and globally share information. But consciousness does not come from the brain alone. It requires connection, body, sensation, and environment. Does consciousness linger after death? Can a person feel the moment of dying? The mystery of near-death experiences. At the moment of death, do we know we are dying? Do we feel something? Humans have asked this question for thousands of years. But now modern science has uncovered some truly surprising clues. The AWARE study, researched by Dr. Sam Parnia, one of the most famous studies in this area is the AWARE study. Awareness during resuscitation. It was led by Dr. Sam Parnia in hospitals in London and New York. The study examined patients who suffered cardiac arrest and had no heartbeat or brain activity, but were later revived. What is astonishing? Many patients describe vivid experiences after clinical death, seeing light floating above their body, watching the hospital scene even though their eyes were closed. Some even described specific people or equipment in the room, while their brain was officially offline. NDEs, real experience, are brain illusions. Scientists are divided. Some say near-death experiences are caused by brain chemicals, endorphins, which reduce pain and create euphoria. DMT, known to trigger dreamlike visions, but others argue these experiences often occur after the brain has shut down, suggesting consciousness might be separate from brain activity. Rat study, gamma waves after death. In one experiment, researchers stopped a rat's heart after anesthesia. What happened? For 30 seconds after death, the rat's brain showed intense gamma waves. These waves are linked with high-level consciousness in humans. This suggests the brain may become hyperactive at the edge of death. Similar spikes have been seen in humans after cardiac arrest, especially in the posterior heart zone, the area tied to awareness. The brain does not shut down instantly at death. Signs of awareness may persist for a few moments. Some people report strange, vivid experiences, called NDEs. But are they brain-generated illusions or spiritual truth? Science does not yet have full answer. Is life after death possible? And what does modern science say about the continuity of life? Death is not just an ending, it is a question that science seeks to answer and spirituality embrace. From a scientific perspective, science says when the heart stops, blood flow stops, oxygen is cut off, and cells begin to die. But not all cells die at once. Some tissues like skin, bone, cornea stay alive for hours. Even brain cells show postmortem activity. This means the body does not instantly shut down. Death is a process, a gradual journey. From a spiritual perspective, most religions and spiritual traditions teach death is the moment the soul leaves the body. The body becomes lifeless. The soul journeys onward. Sufi mystics say death is like changing clothes, a transformation, not extinction. Meaning, every soul experiences death, but the self continues even if the body stops. Why blend science and spirituality? We have a physical body understood by science and an inner self touched by spirituality. If we view death only through science, humans become machines. If we view death only through spirituality, we ignore the physical reality of our body. So, to fully understand death, we need both science, insight, and spirituality, spiritual insight. Science tells us the body shuts down gradually. Spirituality tells us the soul lives on. Together, they give us a complete framework to understand death. Is revival possible? Is death really a doorway to something else? Can we reverse death? It might sound like science fiction, but researchers are already exploring the possibility. Organ preservation. Today, technologies like cryopreservation allow us to preserve human organs at extremely low temperatures, keeping them functional for years. In the future, these methods may improve enough to preserve entire bodies or brains. Brain preservation. Some scientists are working to preserve brain structure and neuron level today. The goal to someday reactivate these brains or even restore a person's memory or full personality. Synthetic consciousness and organoid-based AI. Another exciting path. Scientists are building mini brain organoids in labs showing limited neuron activity. Combined with AI, there is exploration into creating synthetic consciousness. Could computers or organoids replicate a human mind? This question is shaking both science and philosophy. Ethical questions. Just because we can, should we? But with these advances come deep ethical concerns. Should we interfere with the natural order of death? Is it morally right to bring a dead person back to life? If synthetic consciousness emerges, what rights would it have? These questions are critical as research moves forward and must be taken seriously. The journey to reverse death is in its early stages, but the potential is inspiring. Science, technology, and ethics working together could open a door where death becomes perhaps just another beginning. What happens after death? This question has occupied human minds for centuries. Religions, philosophies, and science have all answered it, yet the mystery remains. Religious beliefs soul leaves the body and journeys to another realm. Scientific view. Science says that after death, the body cells stop functioning one by one. the brain shuts down and consciousness ends. Spirituality and experiences. Many people believe in the presence of the soul after death thanks to near-death experiences, such as seeing light or feeling the soul leave the body. Is there any absolute proof? So far, no scientist has definitively proven life after death, but the question forces us to reflect on the meaning, purpose, and values of our lives. Summary. Death remains a mystery we are still trying to understand. In this exploration, we go deeper into our own existence. Every moment of life becomes precious. And one way to reduce the fear of death is to live with more love, purpose, and peace. Today, we explore deep questions surrounding death. Death is something every human must face one day. But instead of being afraid, we should try to understand and accept it. Life gains meaning only when we understand death. Each moment is a gift, and every day is a new chance for love, peace, and joy. Science, philosophy, and spirituality, they all teach us one truth. Death is a part of life, not the end of it. Yes, there are still many questions we cannot answer, but this quest for understanding pushes humanity forward. It leads to new discoveries and opens new doors. If you found this video meaningful, please like and subscribe so we can explore more such topics together. May your life be full of peace and meaning. And may the fear of death never weigh down your heart.